Magandang araw po sa ating mga kamanggagawa. Salamat sa Diyos. Nandito pa tayo sa ating final month number 10. Dito po sa ating T4T training, network training. Ito pa rin po si Pastor Judah Jim Cantoria ng National Council of Christian Community Churches. Timeline to make disciples and multiply churches, month number 10. Marami na tayong nagawa. Over these last 10 months, the Lord has enabled us to find persons of peace. Nakapag-start tayo ng mga OBS, tapos nagkaroon tayo ng transition from OBS to become fully functioning churches. Napakadami na pong ginagawa ng Panginoon at dapat po natin siyang papurihan. So, tuloy-tuloy po tayo. Keep doing all these things. Guide your new believers to share the gospel, find the person of peace, start OBS, and form churches. So the next step is for some of you to receive the next level of training to become a T4T network facilitator. This will be offered later. I-announce na lang po natin. So pag tinignan po natin yung ating timeline, makikita niyo po na halos na sakuyaan na po natin ang lahat. Monte na lang po, yan ang focus natin today. Purihin ang Panginoon. Elephant reproduction versus rabbit reproduction. Way back at our T4T orientation, we learned about elephant churches and rabbit churches. Bagong-bagong ito sa kaisipan ng karamihan sa atin. Ngayon, natapos na ang buong T4T basic training. I-review na natin itong topic na ito. Let's see how our perspective and practices may have changed over these last months. So, think back po tayo. So, pangunahan po tayo ng ating facilitator to think back. Now, let's review. Let's review about elephant and rabbit churches. Siguro marirecall po ninyo nung una nating narinig po ito. Elephant-type church and rabbit-type church. Elephant-type church. Big, many attend, many programs, merong holy atmosphere, church-like, ika nga. Members are well-dressed, pastors wear holy robes, beautiful flowers, excellent choir, professional preaching, but very slow to multiply. Napakabagal ng pag-multiply ng elephant-type church. Tingnan po natin yung rabbit-type church. Small, very small actually, but multiplies fast. Napakabilis po na mag-multiply nito. Now, tingnan po natin ang difference ng dalawa. One pair of elephants and one pair of rabbits. Frequency po of fertility, 4 times per year ang elephant, samantalang ang rabbit, practically, continually. Number of babies per pregnancy sa elephant, 1. Sa rabbit, 7. Length of pregnancy, 22 months sa elephant, samantalang sa rabbit, 1 month lang. Sexual maturity, ang elephant, 18 years. Ang compare po sa rabbit, it's only 4 months. Size of family after 3 years. Nakagulat po ito, ang elephant, only 3. Samantalang ang rabbit, 476 million. Malaking bagay kung mabilis. So, elephant churches versus rabbit churches. Tingnan po natin ulit ito. Reviewin po natin. Elephant church, use expensive buildings. Samantalang yung rabbit churches, use free venues. Elephant church, lead by pastors with full salaries. Rabbit church, lead by volunteer lay people. Elephant, provide full-time salaries for church planters. Samantalang yung rabbit, church planting done by volunteer lay people. So evangelism done mainly by experienced workers sa elephant. Sa rabbit po, all members and even new believers mobilize to evangelize. Magagaling ang outreach Bible study leaders ng Elephant Church. Samantalang ang rabbit, typical members lead outreach Bible studies. Ang Elephant Church, you start with any contacts. Ang rabbit church, they find the person of peace. Ang Elephant Church extracts new believers, samantalang ang rabbit ay follows webs of relationship. Ang Elephant Church reaches individuals, samantalang ang rabbit church reaches the whole household. Malayo ang daughter church ng Elephant Church. Ang rabbit church plant churches very nearby, even within the same subdivision. Most church members never consider being involved in church planting pag sa Elephant Church. Samantalang sa rabbit church, intentional training that is suitable for all church members to plant churches. At panghuli, add new believers and churches. Ito pong sa elephant. Pero sa rabbit church, carefully develop and implement a DNA of multiplication. Planting churches that plant churches, developing new believers who also develop new believers. So, T4T is designed to produce rabbit churches. Mabilis at talaga namang multiplication, explosion, ika nga, ang T4T training na ginagawa po natin. Make disciples. Jesus said, go, make disciples. Matthew 28, verse 19. For the last 10 months, we have been working together to make disciples. Let's pause now, look back, and reflect on what God has done. Tingnan po natin ayon doon sa ating definition ng ating pong making disciples. To make disciples, we must lead unbelievers to assurance of salvation, helping them to become obedient followers of Christ, committed to a local church. These new disciples will also share the gospel and make disciples. So, pangunahan po tayo ng ating facilitator para maging klaro po sa atin itong definition ng making disciples. New goals. Consider setting new personal and church goals after you have reached the first goal. If you have not yet reached your goals, huwag sumuko, magpatuloy. Ang ating Diyos ay mighty to save. Sasamahan niya po tayo, katulad ng kanyang pinangako, magtatagumpay po tayo. Learning from one another. This time po, isi-share na natin ang magagandang karanasan po natin sa ating paghayo at pag-abot sa maraming mga tao at pagpa-plant ng church. So let's learn from one another. Pangunahan po tayo ng ating facilitator. Follow up on personal implementation. Again, nasa month na po tayo at tuloy-tuloy ang inyong implementation at napakaganda ng ginagawa ni Lord sa inyo pong buhay at kayo po ay nagiging instrumento ng Panginoon. So, this time, muli po nating titignan kung ano na ang inyo pong mga accomplishments at nasaan na po kayo pagdating sa personal implementation. Pangunahan po ulit tayo ng ating pong facilitator. Follow up, local church progress. Masaya po tayo. Madami na pong accomplishment ang ating local church. Pero para po lubos po tayong masiyahan at mabigyan ng kaluwalhatian ng Panginoon, ating po uling aalamin ang progress ng local church. Paunahan po ulit tayo ng ating facilitator this time. Fruit report. We want to know how much fruit God has blessed us with as we have implemented T4T. To help us do this, we will now distribute a simple report form. Ipamimigay po yan ng ating facilitator like the one below. Diyan po sa inyong manual nakalagay po yan. Kindly fill this up and submit it now, one per church lamang po. So, pwede na po natin gawin yan ngayon. Why we track results? We don't want to do trainings that don't bear fruit. We want to provide training that actually makes disciples. We want to know what is working well and continue to do these things. If things are not working, we need to know this and we must change. Kaya napaka-importante po ng inyo pong feedback. We can also use this information to encourage others to join T4T trainings. Thank you in advance for your help. Malaking bagay po ang inyo pong mga feedbacks. So, keep on. Praise the Lord for the fruit He has given. This is not the end. The Apostle Paul told the Thessalonians to excel still more. 1 Thessalonians 4:1. That's a good word for us today. Today is our last basic T4T training, but it is not the end of our making disciples. Let's press on and excel still more. 20 benefits of UNLI Bible Study. Tingnan po natin ito. There are many powerful benefits to using our UNLI Bible Study Guide. Those who do not use this miss out of tremendous benefits. What are some of the benefits you will experience when you use the UNLI Bible Study Guide? Tingnan po natin. Number 1, guided in what to read. One reason many new believers don't read the Bible is that they don't know where to start or what to read. With a guide, most of our new believers will do their Bible reading. Number 2, daily. Our new believers begin the habit of daily Bible reading. And it is realistic. Number 3, reading 1 chapter per day is very doable. Number 4, same passage. By reading the same passage together, learning from one another is multiplied. Ganda. It produces doers. Number 5, our new members not only read the Bible, they apply it to their lives, becoming doers of the Word. Number 6, accountability. The biblical principle of accountability is continually at work. Number 7, testimony is strengthened. Magbabago ang mga miyembro. Family and members will see this. This increases their impact and greatly helps in evangelism. Maganda. pagka mayroong mahusay na buhay, testimony sa mga nakapaligid sa kanila. Number 8, group-oriented. Filipinos are group-oriented. Reading and applying the Bible together in a group is far better than trying to do it alone. Number 9, masaya. Group members enjoy meeting together and sharing how God is at work in their lives. Number 10, believers instruct one another. We are able to follow the example of the believers in Rome, whom Paul commended because they were able to instruct one another. Mababasa po natin yan doon sa Romans 15, verse 14. This is a normal part of UNLI Bible studies. Number 11, natural implementation of the other one another's. Most of the one another commands are naturally practiced in this type of church meeting. Number 12, relationships deepened. Relationships are enhanced and deepened through this type of sharing. And number 13, it's easy. It's easy to lead this type of Bible study or house church meeting. At isa pa po, reproducible. Because it is so easy, we can quickly raise up new leaders of new house churches. Number 15, shepherding takes place. Mag-aalaga ang bawat group leader sa kanyang mga tupa. Alam ng leader kung ano ang nangyayari sa buhay ng mga miyembro batay sa kanilang sharing. Lahat ay aalagaan. So, mayroong shepherding. Number 16, not boring. Because everyone participates, boredom is minimized. Masigla ang ganitong klase ng house church meeting kung bisan maingay pa. Masaya. Okay, number 17, malakas ang dating sa bisita. When visitors attend, they are taught the Word of God from the mouths of their kapitbahay. Mas malakas ang dating kapag galing sa kanila kaysa galing kay pastor. Okay, number 18, matipid. The only material you need is the Bible. Wala nang gastos for materials. Hindi mo kailangan bumili ng bumili at hindi ka po mauubusan nito. Number 19, covers all that God has commanded. By covering the whole Bible in this way, we will eventually cover all that God has commanded us. Napakagaling. Number 20, unli, di mauubos. Walang katapusan. Mag-enjoy kayo ng lahat ng mga ito habang buhay na. Napakatipid sapagkat walang katapusan. So, yan po ang mga benefits ng paggamit ng UNLI Bible Study. Long-term discipleship. Strong and weak long-term discipleship. We have learned many essential principles that greatly help our new believers grow very strong as we apply our long-term discipleship. Some of these principles are personal daily Bible reading, a Bible reading guide, writing daily in a spiritual journal, being a good example, sharing our talatang isinabuhay at talatang isa sa buhay, stirring up one another to love and good deeds, practicing the one another praises during the worship service, becoming doers of the word, not just hearers. Most new churches planted through T4T effectively apply these principles. Napakagaling. As a result, their new believers grow very strong as they proceed in their long-term discipleship. Importante po ito. They're excited to share their strong faith, and churches continue to multiply. Other new churches fall back into traditional ways. Members merely attend and do not grow strong in their faith. Nakakalungkot pagka ganon. So, lifetime process. It's a lifetime process as we help our new believers become fully obedient followers of Jesus. Discipleship is never completed here on this earth. We need to have an effective long-term system to help our new believers make more and more progress as they move toward becoming fully obedient followers of Jesus. We have tools. Fortunately, we have a very effective system. We provide a Bible reading guide. Everyone reads one chapter a day. Each week, we identify how God wants us to obey what we have read. Everyone shares how they have applied their verse from the previous week and will apply their verse for the next week. Every week, everyone makes more and more progress in becoming a fully obedient follower of Jesus. Kaya napakaganda po nitong T4T. Purihin po ang Panginoon. Local Church Training Action Plan. Pangungunahan po ulit tayo ng ating facilitator para gawin po ang action plan ng ating mga local churches. Two worship service formats. As we establish our new churches, we have a great opportunity to develop worship services that are highly effective. We have very important decision to make as we decide what type of format we will follow in our new worship services. The traditional format on the left is used by many older churches. Diyan po sa inyong notes, pwede niyo pong sundan. The participative format on the right follows our UNLI Bible Study Guide. So tingnan po natin, i-compare po natin itong dalawa, traditional and participative church worship service. Have a different facilitator read the other service below. He should use a very monotone, slow, boring voice. Babasahin niyo po yung traditional type of worship service. Samantalang yung participative, rather than explain the items below in a lecture, actually do them. Let the delegates experience participation and minister to one another. So, pangunahan po tayo ng ating pong facilitator para gawin po ang bagay pong ito. Boring. I'm sure no one was bored with this participative format. Let's do this in our new churches. Itong pinaka-the best, maganda at tiyak na mag-i-enjoy ang ating mga bagong mananampalataya. new opportunity. It is nearly impossible to change the format of an older church from traditional to participative. Napakahirap gawin yan. Maraming magrireklamo. Duguan yan. Mahirap gawin. Pwede, kaya lang napakahirap gawin. But you will have no problem at all in your new churches. It's a new opportunity. Doon sa mga bagong church na bubuksan natin, pwedeng gawin ang participative worship service. Supplemental options for church formation. Churches are essential according to our definition of making disciples. It's essential that new believers become part of a local church. Dapat committed sila sa local church. So OBSes have become churches. By this time, usually most OBSes have developed all of the functions of a church and are fully functioning churches. So, other options for forming churches from OBSes. Forming OBSes into fully functioning churches is normally our best option. There are also 3 other options you could consider. This is not essential, but few churches prefer other options. The other options are, number 1, bring your new believers to your mother church. Okay lang yon. Kaya lang yung iba, hindi nagiging successful. Another one is join a few OBSes together to form one new church. Number 3 option, develop your OBSes to become fully functioning churches and also have a group of these churches meet together occasionally, pwedeng monthly, quarterly, or twice per year. So, yan po ang mga 3 option na pwede natin gawin. Not an option. It is not acceptable to just have OBSes that never become a church or part of a church. OBSes cannot continue on only as OBSes forever. They are temporary and an excellent temporary strategy to plant churches. Any of the 4 options of becoming a church are acceptable. Kaya yung mga OBS, dapat maging church talaga. Option 1, develop your OBSes to become fully functioning, separate churches. Ito po yung mga advantages. Number 1, little or no financial expense, financially self-sustaining. Number 2, dropouts minimized. Number 3, continues to provide input to the new believers at just the right level. Tingnan po natin ang option number 2, bring new believers from the OBSes to the mother church. Ito po yung mga disadvantages po nito. Relationships well established at mother church. Hard for newcomers to break in. Yan, mahirap yan. And another disadvantage is transportation expense. Pagka medyo malayo lalo, mas matindi ang gastos sa transportation. Number 3 option, join a few OBSes together to form a new church. Ito po yung mga disadvantages nitong option 3. Venue and equipment needed, costly po yan. It slows down multiplication. Number 2, some members may not be able to come because of travel expense. Lalo kung malayo. Meeting day number 3 and time will probably not fit everyone's schedule. Some will drop out. And number 4, disadvantage, highly qualified leaders are needed. Tingnan po natin ang option number 4. Develop your OBSes to become fully functioning separate churches and also have a group of these churches meet together occasionally. Ito po mga advantages. Members feel they are part of something bigger. Ang disadvantage naman, may kailangan na venue at yung transportation cost. So, okay. Pangunahan po ulit tayo ng ating facilitator para sa ating action plan. Continue OBSes. If you choose to gather your OBSes together to form one church, or if you bring your new believers to your mother church, be sure that you continue your OBSes. This is the ideal environment for their continued spiritual growth. This also provides just the right topics that are needed at their level. Kaya dapat tuloy-tuloy lang po ang ating mga OBSes. Maintain momentum to make disciples. Sabi ng iba, nag-T4T na kami. Ano ang susunod? Mali. Hindi pa tapos ang disciple making kasi T4T is all about making disciples. The target is all nations sa Matthew 28:19. This includes all people in all nations. When that is accomplished, tapos na tayo. Until then, we continue to make disciples hanggang sa kamatayan. Wala akong tigil. So, momentum to make disciples can easily die out, especially after the T4T training is complete. What can we do to keep the momentum strong? Provide group leaders upgrading trainings. Number 1, focus on group leaders. Noong nagsimula tayo ng T4T, ang ating strategy ay train everyone. Malinaw na kung sino ang mga miyembro na doers of the word at kung sino ang mga tagapakinig lamang. Marami na tayong miyembro na may hawak na grupo. May ibang miyembrong hindi pa sumunod kay Lord sa ganitong paraan. Mag-focus na tayo sa mga group leaders. Number 2, adjust the local church trainings. Up until now, we've had local church trainings to teach our members how to lead each OBS. Now, in place of these local church trainings, we can provide group leaders upgrading trainings. Number 3, facilitate learning from one another. One of the most helpful things you can do when you gather your group leaders together is to provide a time of learning from one another. Here is a generic agenda you can use. This is very effective tool that you can use every time you gather your group leaders, or you can make adjustments when that would be more effective. Okay? What's working? Pangalawa, what's not working? What are we learning? What needs to change? And then, what's next? Napakasimple po ng bagay na ito na agenda na pwede nating gamitin. Number 4, cast vision. People lose vision in 30 days. Without continuous vision casting, your group leaders will lose vision to make disciples and multiply churches. Babalik sila sa mag-a-attend lang o babalik sa pangkaraniwang maintenance ministry lang. When you gather your group leaders, kailangan patuloy buhayin natin ang vision sa kanila. Kung ganon, hindi mamamatay ang vision, kundi they will continue to make disciples habang sila ay nabubuhay. To continue to cast vision, you can use our UNLI Vision Casting Guide. We will share this with you at the future upgrading training. So, pwede po natin i-share sa inyo yan. Number 5, determine your schedule. Weekly, we suggest that you meet once per week with group leaders. For the next 2 weeks, this will be a critical time to keep the momentum going. Every other week, after momentum has been stabilized, you can meet once every 2 weeks. Monthly, for the long term, it should be sufficient to meet at least once per month. And then, refocus your coaches. Number 1, only coach those who are leading groups. When we started our coaching, we provided a coach for every member. Unfortunately, in spite of our efforts, probably not all members have become disciple makers, but many have. Make a list of all of your members who are leading groups. Reassign your coaches so that each member with a group has a coach. 4 or 5 members per coach will be a good number. Number 2, continue to apply the coaches training. Coaches can continue to use the skills learned in our coaches training, but now they will focus only on members who are leading groups. Okay, number 3, reassign coaches. Use the table. Diyan po sa inyong notes, table below, to assure that all of your members who are leading groups have a coach. And through ongoing coaching, we can keep the momentum strong. So discuss this now with your churchmate and fill up the chart na nasa inyo pong hawak ngayon. Set a goal, a new goal. God achieved our first goals. When we began T4T, we set a church goal for what we were trusting God to do. God answered our prayers and fulfilled many of our goals. Purihin ang Panginoon, salamat sa Kanya. Let's set another new goal. Daughter churches, how many total daughter churches will you trust God for within the next year? This number would include your current daughter churches, all new churches that your church will plant, and all new churches established by your daughter churches or granddaughter churches. You can use the goal worksheet. Nandiyan po sa inyong manual, hawak po ninyo. Total number of disciples. How many disciples will you trust God for within the next year? This total would include all believers in your current churches, plus all new believers in all of the new churches to be planted. Multiply. Remember, God will give us far greater growth when we grow by multiplication rather than just addition. Tayo po ay tinawag ng Panginoon para mag-multiply. Cast vision. Impart the vision in your churches to reach your goal, new goal. Huwag tayong titigil, kagaya po ng dati. Ang pinakamahalaga po, maipaabot natin sa mga tao ang ating vision para yakapin po nila at makasama natin sila sa pag-abot po nito. Deepen your personal intimacy with God. To maintain momentum, to make disciples, we all must continually deepen our personal relationship with God. As we do, He will work in us to make more and more disciples. Yan po ang sikreto. Habang matindi ang ating personal intimacy sa Panginoon, lalo tayong gagamitin ng Panginoon para sa Kanyang kaluwalhatian. Implementation Monitoring Guide, month number 10. Never stop making disciples. Yan po ang atas sa atin ng ating Panginoon. So, pangunahan po tayo ng ating facilitator once again para po dito sa ating Implementation Monitoring Guide, month 10. Make disciples. For the last time, sabay-sabay po nating basahin ang definition po nito. I hope and I believe, kabisado nyo na po ito. Sige, sabay-sabay po nating basahin. To make disciples, we must lead unbelievers to assurance of salvation, helping them to become obedient followers of Christ, committed to a local church. These new disciples will also share the gospel and make disciples. Purihin po ang Panginoon. So as we complete our T4T basic training and continue to make disciples, what is the one main thing that is on your heart? Summarize this in one sentence and share this with your group sa pangunguna po ng ating facilitator. The parable of the mustard seed. Way back in our T4T orientation, we look at the parable of the mustard seed. We saw that a small seed can grow into a big tree. What has actually happened in our churches? Basahin po natin ulit ang Mark chapter 4, verse 30 to 32. Tingnan natin kung anong nangyayari talaga. Saan pa natin maihahambing ang kaharian ng Diyos? Anong taninhaga ang gagawin natin upang mailarawan ito? Tanong ni Jesus. Ang katulad nito ay butil ng mustasa na siyang pinakamaliit sa lahat ng binhi. Ngunit kapag itinanim, ito'y lumalago at nagiging pinakamalaki sa lahat ng tanim. Ito'y nagkakasanga ng mayabong, kaya't ang mga ibon ay nakakapamungad sa lilim nito. Nagsimula tayo sa maliit. When we started our T4T training, many of us started with churches that were small. If your church was not small then, there was a time that your church and every church did start small. Kaunti lang ang mga disciples. Tapos, ano nangyari? Number 2, lumaki na. Nanalangin tayo, nag-prayer care share tayo, binigyan tayo ng mga persons of peace, nabuksan ang mga OBS, itinanim ang salita ng Diyos, namunga, binautismuhan sila, tinuruan silang magbahagi. We made disciples. Lumago, dumami, lumaki ang kaharian ng Diyos. Yan ang nangyari po sa atin. Number 3, lalaki pa. Tapos na ba tayo? Hindi pa. Bibigyan tayo ni Lord ng marami pang persons of peace. Magkakaroon tayo ng multi-generational groups, generations of groups. Dadami pa ang ating mga iglesia. Magmumultiply ang ating mga alagad. Lalaki pa ang kaharian ng Diyos. In conclusion, naway patuloy at lalong gamitin ni Lord ang bawat isa sa atin para mas lalo pang lumaki ang kanyang kaharian. Sa kanya ang kaluwalhatian. Purihin ang Panginoon. Purihin po ang Panginoon. Salamat po sa inyong matyagang pagdalo sa ating training at higit sa lahat sa inyong implementation na higit na pinagpala ng Panginoon at alam ko na patuloy pang pagpapalain ng Panginoon, gagamitin niya pa tayo para humayo, gawing alagad ang marami pang mga tao at makapagtanim pa ng marami pang mga iglesia. Nagpapasalamat po tayo sa bawat isa, sa nananalangin at sa lahat ng sumusuporta upang may sakatuparan po natin ang training natin ng T4T. Nagpapasalamat po tayo kay Pastor Dave White na siyang author po ng ating mga pinag-aralan dito sa T4T. Pagpalain po tayong lahat ng ating Panginoon at nawa ang papuri ay may pagkaloob nating tunay sa ating Panginoong Diyos na buhay.